Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Improv Ideas. Today we are going to be doing a continuation on what we did in the previous episode where we talked about how we can take minor pentatonic scales and modify one note in the scale to get a completely different sound. In the previous episode we talked about the flat 1 minor pentatonic scale, which is a great scale to get more of an outside sound over minor chords. And today we're going to talk about a scale that is slightly different. It is called the minor 6 pentatonic scale. And this is a really colorful, great sounding scale, and it is very versatile as well. It works really good over rock, blues, funk, jazz, just about anything. And it's relatively easy to put into practice because, similar to the previous episode, all we're doing is taking our minor pentatonic scale and we're modifying one note to get a completely different sound. Okay, so to start out, let's go over what a minor 6 pentatonic scale is. I'm going to do everything in the key of G. Let's start by going up and down our G minor pentatonic scale, and then I'll show you the note that gets modified. So that's our regular G minor pentatonic. Most guitar players are familiar with that one. But now, to make it a minor 6 pentatonic, what we want to do is we want to take our flatted 7th interval, which in this case is the F note. So if you're unfamiliar with intervals, another way you can think of it is if you know where your G notes are, just start on G and go up to the 5th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So what we're doing is taking that flatted 7th interval and we're going to lower it 1 fret from F down to E, which makes it the 6 now. So now, rather than going like this, we go like this. Alright, and it has a much different sound just by changing that flatted 7th to the 6. The 6 is a really colorful note, a great note to land on. And just by changing this one note, you get a whole new array of sounds that you can experiment with in your playing. So if we extend that to the next octave, we have this for the first one. Then up here, normally we would do this. But the note that's going to get lowered now is the 6th fret on the 2nd string. So our F note, we're going to lower that to 5. So now the 2nd octave is this. Okay. Okay, so that covers our first fingering starting on the root note, but just like with all other pentatonic scales, there are 5 fingerings that go along with it. So I'm going to run through all 5 of those fingerings right now so you can hear what they sound like, and I'm also going to discuss a couple of different arpeggios that line up within this scale that are really good to experiment with for improvisation. And if you would like access to PDFs of all of the scales and arpeggios that I go over today, as well as 5 licks within this scale, you can head over to patreon.com/MikeAudetteMusic. So we went through the first fingering already. Now the second fingering would go like this. The third fingering would go like this. Fourth fingering would go like this. And then the last fingering, the 5th one, would go like this. Okay, and in terms of arpeggios, there are a couple of really nice arpeggios that line up within this scale. The most obvious one would be a G minor 6 arpeggio, which is G, B flat, D, and E. So intervallically, it's root, flatted 3rd, 5th, and 6, which makes a minor 6 arpeggio. So that, going up the full range, would be this. And then another one that lines up is a C dominant 7 arpeggio. So that would, starting on C, that would be C, E, G, B flat. So that's the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the flatted 7th against C. But since we're in this lower position, I'm going to start on the G note. I'm just going to do an inversion. So that would sound like this. So it sounds kind of similar to the G minor 6 arpeggio. There's only one note that actually differentiates the two. The C dominant 7 arpeggio has a C note in it, whereas the G minor 6 has a D note in it. So very similar, but that one note does give it some nice contrast. It's G minor 6, then C7. And you can, mix and match those together. It's a really great sound. So that covers the scale fingerings and the arpeggios that line up within this scale. Now I'm going to do a little demonstration. Okay, I'll start out by improvising a little bit in the G minor pentatonic scale just to establish the sound. And then at a certain point I'll switch it up and go into the minor 6 pentatonic. And then I'll sort of combine the two together so you can hear what it sounds like when you mix them up. So here we go. All right, now I'll do minor 6. Back to minor pentatonic. Minor 6. Now I'm going to do that G minor 6 arpeggio. Alright, now the C7 arpeggio. Back to minor pentatonic. Now I'll just kind of freely improvise and combine the two. Okay, so that is the sound of the minor 6 pentatonic scale. Hopefully some of you have never heard of this scale before, and it will give you some new ideas to experiment with your improvisation. And like I said, this is an incredibly versatile scale. If I'm playing a funk tune or a rock song or blues or jazz, pretty much anything, this scale works great over it. And it's relatively easy to put into practice if you are already comfortable with your minor pentatonic scales, especially if you have all 5 fingerings really comfortable throughout the neck, because all you got to do is find that flatted 7th interval and just lower to half step, and you get this whole new sound to experiment with. So that is our episode for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And as always, if you would like PDFs of all of the scale fingerings that I went over, as well as the arpeggios with 5 licks within this scale, as well as access to every previous and every future episode of Improv Ideas, you can head over to patreon.com/MikeAudetteMusic, or if you'd like to just make a donation, you can do so at paypal.me/MikeAudetteMusic. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you at the next episode. Take care.